we started noticing that people were healing of stage 4 cancers, dissolving tumors in their thyroids, their breasts, their ovaries, ailments that there's no cure for. People were healing over Zoom calls. And that's really when it clicked, like, holy shit. It gives me chills just to talk about now. I really, really began to understand that we are not limited at all.
Hello, you beautiful bluebirds, and welcome back to another episode of Deja Blu. It is your girl Blue here, and I am very excited to have another interview happening over Zoom with my brother, Alexander Mendeluk. So good. Thanks for being here, brother. Sister. Oh, so good to have you. Coming in hot from Bali. Just to giving it a little bit of a disclaimer. If anybody is familiar with Bali, they may be familiar with the Bali internet, and it's a little bit dodgy. So if anything happens, we'll do a quick little edit on our behalf and make sure that the internet is not too much of an issue. But if you are sitting at home or you're watching this on YouTube, just take a moment and send a prayer to the internet gods and just make sure that this stays all intact. That would be delicious.
Give an offering to the Wi-Fi gods and goddesses, please.
Yes. Extra incense for you. Alrighty. So, Alexander, such an honor. So grateful to have you here and to introduce you to the bluebirds. I love sharing fascinating human beings that have activated or sparked something within me, that are doing incredible work in the world, that is essentially shifting the narrative of placing the power back for us to be able to heal anything. And so I'm going to read a little bit of your bio, but then we'll go into a little bit more of how I really know you in person. Alexander is a light force healer, entrepreneur, and public speaker, specializing in quantum healing and purpose-driven business consulting. His work has been featured in Entrepreneur Mag, Success, Mashable, and ABC Shark Tank. And his old company, Spirit Hoods, just so happen to be hanging up in my closet. One of my favorite items that I own is your old company, because you're only a spiritual weaver and a healer, but also you're quite the business mogul and have birthed so many incredible businesses into the world that have supported many to be way more swagged out.
Exactly. Swag and spirit and conscious business, they all go together into one.
Yeah. So if this microphone is Alexander, and this is spirituality, and this is a CEO. That's what we're working with here. And brother, we've had quite an interesting journey of how we connected. I was hired back in the day when I was an artist to come to your home and for your wife's birthday to paint a live painting of your husky. And that's how we originally connected.
That's right. And then through...
Oh no, internet gods.
Yeah. The blue.
The prayers aren't working. We need to offer something else. Take my arm.
Oh my goodness. Yes, okay. Out of the Deja Blu, you come back into my life, and it's been such a gift.
Yeah. So sorry, just got to recalibrate out on the internet. Okay, so I was hired to go to your home and paint a live painting of your husky at your wife's birthday. And since that seed was planted, it's sort of come multiple years now, where it's come 360 and we've got reconnected through our dear brother Paolo. And I got to experience the magic and what you create. And essentially your ethos is that you have the ability to heal absolutely anything in your life. And I truly, truly believe this at the core of my being. However, you've taken this to the next level, and you have started essentially a light force center, a whole center around holistic healing, a whole center around healing suppressed trauma. And you've created it to be your life's work, not only through you, through your wife, through your family, through your location of where you choose to live, your devotion of your work. So I'm just so curious to pick apart who you be and who your mind is, and the drive behind this, and your ethos and what you're creating. And I've also had a session from you, which is extremely powerful, and we can talk about it a little bit later. But I'd love to hear from you. What was the piece that locked in for you that you realized, oh my gosh, we can actually heal, we have the ability to heal anything in our lives? When did that realization, not just like a belief, but like a realization, a truth, when did that present itself, and how did that come into your life?
Wow, that's a great question. And thank you for that incredible intro and segue into this. And it's an honor to be here, and it's an honor to share. And I'm filled with joy. So thank you so much. And thank you to everybody who's listening. And so, yes, the foundation of my understanding is that we can, and my experience is that we can heal anything unless it's karmic, meaning that lesson is something like we are given because we have to learn something specific for a lifetime, right? Which is more rare than not. And even then, oftentimes that can be dissolved. But 99% of the time, at least from what we're experiencing, you can heal anything. And the fundamental belief and understanding is that we are not designed to be sick. And so the aha moment, it has really been a progression. I think, just like the progression of awakening, you begin to awaken to this reality. But it wasn't until, I think, the last 2 years, and really the last year when the pandemic hit, where we were forced, Shane and I, to actually take the experiences that we were giving people in person, and all of a sudden in quarantine, we can't give those anymore. We said, how can we take these gifts, the same type of experiences, to the world? We started noticing that people were healing of stage 4 cancers, dissolving tumors in their thyroids, their breasts, their ovaries, kidneys, chronic diseases, ailments that there's no cure for. People were healing over Zoom calls. And that's really when it clicked, like, holy shit, this, not only can we heal anything, we can heal it through time and space. That we've been working in the quantum world. I understood it because I was in it in the physical, which is kind of ironic. But when you're working with people like this, like we're speaking now, and they're getting the same experiences, and even more so, it gives me chills just to talk about now. I really, really began to understand that we are not limited at all. And so that limitation was removed from my consciousness during the pandemic, where we were forced to kind of express this in a new way. And it's been flowering. So
I'm curious to understand, well, I guess, first and foremost, what was your method in person to be able to go, okay, whatever is being presented, unless it's something karmically related, which is the 1%, which is actually necessary for the evolution of their consciousness, this person is sitting in front of me, and I strongly believe in the core of my being that this person can be healed. What is the method that is being applied? Where did you get this method from? How did it come across? How did you come across it? And I'm just curious about the actual process itself, to be able to really understand it.
Yeah, that's an amazing question. And I've been dissecting this myself, because where you can normally, let's just say you want to learn how to do yoga. You go and you learn from a yoga teacher, right? Preferably somebody who's experienced, that can teach you the true essence of yoga. If you want to learn how to cook great, delicious vegan food, you go and you learn from a vegan chef. You can learn how to, all these amazing modalities that are out there that kind of help us get to this end goal, which we're all striving for. And, or like you can go to a Reiki specialist and get energy healing. And I noticed over the years that these are very, very specific, it's like the mastering of one thing, and mastering that very well. There's a lot of that out there, people focusing on one thing. But my personality type, being a Libra, like, I have to choose everything from the menu, I can't, I have to try everything to sample and reduce and deduct in order to get this kind of alchemic experience that's perfect for me, right? Whether I'm eating out and driving my wife crazy, just pick the meal already, or if it's developing something that I'm passionate about. So I noticed that throughout my life, ever since I was a child, I've been sampling different modalities from martial arts and Qigong and meditation, and learning from masters that were developing ESP techniques like Jose Silva and his ultra mind systems, and learning NLP and learning how that affected the body, and emotional freedom techniques and tapping. And I tried so many, and still to this day, when I find a master or some teacher arrives that can unlock that next piece, and I see it working in my own life and in my family's life and my friends' life and our students' life, we add it. And then through direct experience, through working with plant medicine, connecting with my own guides, learning how to work in the quantum field, downloading my own processes and meditations and inspirations. And through this kind of amalgamation of experience has come what we call light force healing. So the experience in person, one of my teachers with Dolores Cannon, which I could say kind of created a really strong foundation as it relates to working in the quantum field, which opened up my perspective to realizing that there is no such thing as, there is space and we manufacture time, but that we're not limited by that, and that we are all connected. And this led into understanding quantum physics and understanding entanglement and, all of this. So much information was downloaded through my work in working with students in the deep theta hypnotic state. And I began working one-on-one with people outside of my family after learning Dolores Cannon's quantum healing hypnosis techniques. And from there it's evolved. But what started happening is I've always been fascinated by the stories I hear, right, in media or books I read, and the stories of healing and different people doing things. But then I always have to apply it to see if that validates for me. And I was always obsessed with past life and how that worked and how that affected our now trajectory, never accepting that the reality that we've been fed by society and media and religion and culture is necessarily the truth. So when I started doing the healing work, the truth started coming through. When I started taking individuals down into these deep states of theta and guiding them into their higher self, subconscious, and contact with their higher self, what started taking place was these beautiful narratives of individuals channeling their angels, their guides, multidimensional beings, their higher selves, which is the fullest version of ourselves, which is connected to the collective consciousness. This is where our intuition comes from. It was coming through as streams of consciousness through people, everyday people who had never even done these types of things before would come for healing, and then boom, and we would record every session. And I've got thousands of notes and recordings and documentation of the wisdom of the cosmos. And that's where Dolores Cannon came from. And I validated that experience by having it myself through thousands of different sessions and thousands of different downloads. And what happens is you begin to get a lot of information, and you begin to unlock keys to help people heal more. And you'll speak with an ancient wisdom master that somebody channels and says, well, why don't you visualize this and add this to that and try that and see how that works on your healing journey? And why don't you try this and that? And so when you start plugging in, doing the work, it kind of all comes into this series and this progression. So an individual who goes through the light force healing might smell or feel elements of hypnosis, theta healing, breath work, meditation, dietary cleansing of the body and the organs, because we need the mind, body, spirit connection. Fun. We need joy and fun. Healing can be fun. Angel work,
Healing
spirit
can
guide
be
work.
fun.
Yes, ancestral work. So definitely roots in shamanism, working with a lot of different shamans, and have been on that journey in my past lives as well. And so it's an amalgamation, long story short, of this process, but it is systemized into a 4 and 7 week experience where people are repeatedly fully healing themselves within that amount of time.
Fully healing themselves within 4 to 7 weeks.
Of all things.
Of all things. You seem very confident when you say that. Of all things. People are healing themselves of all things in 4 to 7 weeks.
Yes, unless again, it's something that they need to live with. Like I had an individual who got hit in the head when he was a kid and lost his vision in his right eye. So he came to me because he's had all this physical trauma in his life. And from that experience as a child, he's always had these raging migraines that have been crippling him. So he came due to the pain and wanting to restore vision in his eye. But what he got from that was the tip of the iceberg that his guides used to bring him to the table. What he got was full healing of everything else, full healing of the trauma and the abuse from his childhood, healing of the trauma from lost loved ones, healing from the trauma of being abandoned, healing from the physical trauma. And when everything was cleared, he came to the realization. He was on the the tip. We've got his guides there ready to heal him. And he actually said, you know what? I don't want the eyesight to come back. I want to keep it because I've lived with it and it's been this teacher for me, and it's my karma. I can live with it. It's not something that is in the way of my evolution. It's been a tool. And I think you can attest to this with your hearing, is that there are certain things that we're given that we see as these horrible experiences at first, that when we lean into them, we're being called to use them to transform. So those things we actually end up honoring and respecting. But everything else, as it relates to a quote ailment that is not serving the individual, I think that's the key defining factor, can heal.
Mm-hmm. Wow. I mean, it's fascinating. So I'm curious, how was a shift for you to go from doing these healings in person, having profound results, having thousands of people, the coronavirus hits, and all of a sudden now you've got to translate this into a virtual space and the results that you're seeing from the virtual space in comparison to what you're experiencing in person?
It was wild, Blue. It was wild. Like, we were literally, Shane, myself, we were opening up the Light Force Center in Ibiza first. So Shane had received these beautiful visions of a temple of light, like a pyramid of light over an island. So we went and started searching for where they would be. And we're practicing our craft as we're moving, as we're traveling, as we're meeting people. This was not something we ever advertised. This was not something we even ever spoke about. It was just letting Source bring them to us as is, to really hone in this new mission. And we were about ready to open up the healing center in Ibiza, and we're about ready to sign the papers. And my lawyer calls and says, look, there's something illegal with the build there. If you sign this, you can't operate as a business and you'll be screwed. So we're like, oh my goodness, we have everything packed up in boxes. We're about ready to move out of our house. I've got a 1.5-year-old child here and a wolf. And we're like about ready to move into this house. We have to move everything into our apartment, or into my office at the time. And I'm sleeping on a blow up mattress with all of them around us. And we're saying, what is going to happen? We got the wolf, we got the baby, we got Shane and me on a blow up mattress. The crib is here. There's boxes on top of our heads. We said, we need to get out of here. And we go to Bali just to regroup. There's a connection between Bali and Ibiza. Everybody kind of goes back and forth, right? And Tulum and Hawaii and these different places. It's a chakra of the earth. And so we come here, and I had been doing work remotely with people, primarily focusing on helping them work on developing the purpose, really like high performers, entrepreneurs, artists, creators. And I realized I was putting the cart before the horse, that the prerequisite to purpose was healing. And we discovered that when the pandemic hit, that everything was taken, literally, right? Or taken. Our home, our vision and our plan that we had invested our whole lives. We moved from LA, sold my company. We put everything into the vision of Ibiza. Then, you know, the fabric of the matrix reality is taken with the pandemic and everything, right? And the fabric being revealed and the lies and everything, which is great. I love that, actually. But we're sitting here in Bali saying, what the fuck? Like, literally felt like washed ashore. You know, we can't go back. We can't go home. And we're now having to look at, okay, well, what is the blessing in this, right? There's something happening here. Clearly, we're very blessed to be stranded in Bali. And while the whole world was on lockdown, we were able to really go deep and ask the questions, well, what do we do next? And so the process was looking at inward and praying and communing and ceremony and saying, Source, how are we supposed to be of greatest service right now during this time when everybody's isolated, when everybody's in boxes, when everybody's being forced to disconnect? How can we help people connect with themselves? And through that stream of consciousness came how to bring it online. And I was taught to never do these things online because it can be dangerous if you're taking people into these deep states of consciousness and your Wi-Fi goes out.
Right.
Like in Bali.
Yeah.
And so what ended up happening was I started receiving a way to get people into these states without them having to lay down in the physical place and go into a deep trance. I started noticing almost like the fabrics of reality changed. And I do believe that this has to do with the frequencies coming to Earth, where people are able to tap into those deep states now by just closing their eyes and going in and doing a specific series of kind of like meditative work. And we were able to tap into that quantum field remotely and safely. And that then opened up the possibilities in ways I never knew were possible. So it was an aha moment. And that aha moment birthed what we're experiencing now. And so I just quickly put up a little landing page. It's kind of ghetto and, just put some testimonials on there and said, come on, let's go. And people started coming in. And so we started documenting the process, documenting the testimonial, because we ourselves were so blown away at how actually easy it has been for people to heal themselves of all things.
Mm-hmm. And so when you say that you're receiving guidance and you're receiving insights and you're being shown how to bring this online, what are you doing behind the scenes to allow yourself to get out of the way to receive these messages and not only receive them, but trust them and take action on them?
Yes. So, well, this is my purpose. This is why I'm alive, right? So every day is in communion with spirit, and every breath and every word, I hope and I intend and I work towards aligning with that frequency of truth so that I can be a conduit for that truth. And healing is the same thing as you know, is we have to cleanse the mind, we have to cleanse the physical body to allow for spirit to integrate fully. Now, what's the definition of spirit? We have our soul, right, which is overarching, connected to the collective consciousness, and spirit is integrated. A spirit is integrated into the physical body, which we're experiencing now. And that communion, that bridge between that higher self and what we're experiencing now in this space is life work. And so every day showing up, making sure that I'm checking in with myself. I have a morning ritual and routine of which I'm sitting and I'm going inward and I'm calling on my guides and counsel. And I have a specific way of connecting with them to receive that information. And then really putting it into action. Yeah. Just trusting in that. The more that we all step into faith, right? That faith then creates belief. And then that belief with action creates a knowing. And then you no longer need faith anymore because you know. And then that knowing just becomes who you are. And that leads to that place of oneness, and complete connection and flow. And so I'm just hoping to maintain that as long as possible.
So it's almost like, your process sounds like an air purifier. And if the air purifier is not turned off for a couple of days, the dust starts to build a little bit. And it's just like receiving sort of what we've taken on our daily basis, and we don't have a purifying system. So essentially, if you want to receive a message, if you want to receive guidance, if you want to receive some clarity, making sure that air purifier is switched on, the breath work, the meditation, the prayers, the altar, the candle setting, whatever it is, to then continue to purify that space, mind, body, and spirit, to allow the insight to flow in, and therefore from that place take action and be of service from it.
150 million%, so well articulated. And so our step one is a morning ritual that you show up for every single day and you commit to. And I can send you and your followers that link. They can have it for free and start implementing that now. And that is the step one. We call it spiritual hygiene. You hopefully take care of yourself physically, right? I mean,
I'll write that down. I like that.
But being able to really show up and cleanse yourself, like I love that analogy of the purifier. Absolutely.
So, Alexander, if somebody came to you and was like, all right, this sounds brilliant, I'm super onto it, I just recently got triggered by something and I can feel it in the core of my being. And every time my mind sends energy towards it, my contraction happens in my heart and in my stomach. And this is a testament of a wound being tapped onto, because it's not in the frequency of love, the narrative that's attached to it that is feeding division in my external reality. And yet the awareness and the emotional maturity that I have a wound, and simultaneously the ability to shift that wound seems to be so far disconnected, where there isn't a space between the trigger and the response. I don't know how to fully be a pattern interrupt to this. I don't even know where it's coming from. What guidance would you give to somebody that is sharing that they don't even know where this is coming from, but it's clearly creating physical and tangible results in the external reality where it's creating division between them and another being?
Ooh, okay, Blue.
We're going in. We're going in.
Do you know anybody like this?
Yeah, myself.
Okay.
I'm speaking on behalf of a friend. Like, I'm just curious. I have a friend that has this trigger and it's bothering them.
Okay, well, let's go in. Anybody who's listening to this, they can unpack this in their own way, right? So, okay, first and foremost, close your eyes, Blue, and anybody listening.
This is going to be vulnerable because it's a very real new feeling for me, and it's in my relationship. So I'm going to be vulnerable here on in the name of Deja Blu podcast. Okay.
All right. So first we've got to look at what's triggering you, right? So what is the external event that takes place? You don't have to name names. You don't have to get just what takes place that happens.
Like what sort of situation?
Yeah. The physical experience that triggers you.
I already feel this like getting really vulnerable and even sharing this. It's so funny. I haven't even really spoken to anybody about it. And now here I am talking about it on the podcast with you. But this is the name of it, right? With the podcast, it's just like, you know what? I'm just going to get really vulnerable here. Okay. So it is around, and it's the only time that it comes up is a trigger around other women being in conversation and connection with my partner.
Okay. So this is something that everybody experiences on their path, right? So thank you for being vulnerable and sharing that. And that's key. Step one, right? This is huge. This is huge.
Here I am. My name's Charlotte. I have a problem. I'm an alcoholic.
Okay. So there's the external, right? And so we have to understand first and foremost, and as I know that you know this for people who are listening, is that what's taking place in the external world, right, really doesn't have anything to do with us. So we have to look at then, okay, what do I have to take responsibility for within myself as it relates to that emotion? So let's find the emotion first and see. So I want you to close your eyes and I want you to visualize the experience that triggers you.
Got it.
Got it. And I want you to feel where in the body, the number one, it's being held. Where in the body?
Like right in my heart.
In the heart. Okay. So this is heart pain. So this has to do with lack of love then, right? Or at least the perception of that, because you are love. We are all love. This is our default program, but that's great, Alex. Like, yeah, I'm still suffering, right? So we have to figure out what program is in there in the subconscious, because if you're having the trigger before you're even being able to like see the program, which is amazing, because that's also the step of awakening, is you begin to see the program and then you can transmute it, right? That means there's something subconsciously in there that you're probably unaware of, right? So when you go into the pain, right, look at it on a scale of 0 to 10 and identify what is the emotion that you feel. And maybe there's a few.
It actually, there's a golden thread here, and that golden thread is linked with our last session. Because we did a session together a while back, just so I could really get like a little bit of a feel for the work that you do and your wife. And it is it's again rejection. There
you go. So I feel rejected, right? When I see this happening, I feel rejected. Is that right?
Yeah, like rejected, or like the fear of abandonment, or the
okay,
fear.
There we go. That's even better, right? The fear of abandonment. And so I want you to now close your eyes, and because you have the answers to all things, just ask yourself and your subconscious to show you the key moment in time where this fear of abandonment was created. What's the first thing that pops up?
I think that, yeah, as a child being sent to boarding school at a very young age, and that relationship still being created with my parents and sort of essentially being sent off to school, I think was the first stem of it. And then it just kept playing out in relationships where then it would reinforce that fear of abandonment, and it just kept playing out multiple times in multiple relationships to the point now where I'm in my present relationship and there's absolutely no reason at all or evidence to fear that, but it's an archaic program that is like,
and you said archaic, and this is also great as well. I'm just taking notes here because I want to unpack this. And again, so what we're doing is we're trying to unpack right now in the sense, in the stage of really, we call this emotional mapping, that whenever we feel the trigger, that's the key sign. We stop it and we start mapping it, right? And mapping it looks like this. So this is a tangible takeaway that anybody can use. So take out your notes and write down the sentence. The time when this happens, this would be the experience. So the time when X happened, I felt Y, insert Y, whatever your variable is, emotion. So for you, for example, one can be the time I was sent to boarding school by my parents, I felt abandoned. But there's probably a whole other host of emotions underneath that one experience. Let's just try. Are you still down to be vulnerable?
Yeah, let's do it.
Are we getting too raw?
No. I like it.
Okay,
I like it. You know, ultimately, really, what I'm also realizing is that when I talk about these certain things on my podcast, I get people that reach out and are like, I'm so glad you spoke into this because I've been experiencing it myself. And I realized that these wounds not only just lie within us, but they are a collective wound as well. The collective fear of abandonment, the collective fear of being left behind, the collective fear of unworthiness. And essentially when somebody is willing to just be in it, and be in it in a public way while simultaneously being ready and full-heartedly open to healing it, I think that also just gives permission for other people. So as raw as this feels and as alive as this emotion literally is in my body, and I literally spent like all day in nature just to try and like really move the energy through, I feel like it is important. So let's keep going.
You're amazing. And honestly, I want to give so much love to you for being vulnerable, because that is the strength, that is the medicine, that is what we all need. We all need. And this is what the whole entanglement is there is a collective experience. And the only way that we can untangle that experience is untangling it in ourselves. Right. And so the time that I was sent to boarding school, so this is a perfect example. We've got root cores and then we've got kind of the branches. And we can spend time trimming the branches of our pain body, right? The limbs from the top, or we could just cut out the roots. Whereas you might be getting that trigger, or anybody else might be getting a trigger in their life that is perceived completely insane. Like, my relationship's amazing. I'm in so much love, like, and I feel great with myself. Why would I be feeling this emotion? Oh my God, it has to do with the time I was sent away at boarding school. So when you cut that emotion, you might then begin to see that hip knee-jerk reaction to the experience now, which is unrelated, will fall away and heal itself as a byproduct, right? So we're always trying to find the core, and it's always going back to childhood and the parents that mess us up and all of the experiences that happen, the abuse. So now what I want you to do is, on a scale of 0 to 10, tap into the time that I was sent to boarding school by my parents and I felt abandoned. On a scale of 0 to 10, where is the feeling of abandonment at on the scale, 10 being the worst?
It's interesting because actually at the time, I don't remember it to be like a huge trauma. It was sort of what I knew. It was just like normal. I think where it started getting worse was when I was in some sort of a relationship with somebody and they were being with other women while I was in the container. That's when it kind of like opened it. It felt
there
like.
You go.
So at the time
I was, go on.
Well, at the time, going to boarding school, actually, I very much enjoyed my life at boarding school for the most part. I did miss having parents, and I did feel like I was an outsider when I would go. There was weekends when we would get to go home and I couldn't go home. So I would just go to my friends' houses and I would essentially like be the friend that would come over, but I was never really that part of the family. So I think there was that, and I can feel that texture, but it doesn't feel as salty, to speak, as it does when it started to get into relationships. Like, I'm not salty about it.
Then the time I was with X, we'll just call him X. How about that?
Yeah. Because he is. He's an X.
No pun intended. Actually, yes, completely filled with pun. The time I was with the ex, and what did he do? You put it into your words. He cheated on me. I felt what emotion?
Unworthiness.
Okay.
Yeah.
Unworthy.
I didn't have a whole lot of empowerment during those days. So I put up with a lot more shit than I would now.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we all go through those experiences, and these are the things that create those lenses, right? That we're viewing the world through. And so we can subconsciously take it out on the people we love, and that can create even more internal conflict, because it's like, why am I in this pattern? Why am I in this cycle? Blech, blech.
I call it the Gollum phase. I like look down and I'm like, who have I become? I'm like, I could see just like wisps of hair coming off me, and my skin gets really greasy and I'm gray, and I'm like, yeah, I need to get away from everyone, otherwise you're all gonna see my true colors. And it's Gollum right now.
Gollum is your anti-spirit animal.
And the anti-spirit animal. Gollum.
So we need to get my precious out of you. And so Gollum feeds on unworthiness, right? Gollum feeds because he needs that ring. He needs that ring in order to feel powerful. And so the anti-us feeds on all of those negative emotions, like the ego, right? Like the wounded self. So we're going to keep going deeper. Unworthiness. Connect back in. The time when he cheated on me and I felt unworthy. Where is it in the body?
It's like in my heart and a little bit in my stomach, but it's still predominantly.
You feel that one.
Mm-hmm.
You feel that one.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, good. So we found something beautiful, because now you've uncovered another part of your healing journey, right? And so on a scale of 0 to 10, 10 being the worst, where's that feeling of unworthiness now? Just tap in again.
At the time, I can feel like it was really high up. That was like a 9. But the work that I've done now, even when I tap back into it, there's a higher awareness that is implemented into that program. And so now it sits probably at around a 6.
Okay. So anything over a 5 is what we consider chronic and in the danger zone. So you're still in the danger zone with unworthiness. So let's get rid of it. You want to get rid of it?
Yeah. Like, bye, Felicia, Gollum.
Okay, great. Well, I just so happen to have my drum here.
Here's a little tool. He's ready. Bye, Gollum.
Goodbye, unworthiness. It's time. Okay, so we use the drum as a vibrational tool, because vibration and emotion is vibration. It just helps move it out the body along with the breath. You've done the hardest part, so I really commend you for being so vulnerable. And for anybody listening, this process applies to you. So thank you for being the teacher, Blue, to all of your students as well, and all your listeners. It's amazing. You ready?
Yeah, let's do this.
So we're going to set our intention, which is incredibly essential. Just want to say thank you so much, Blue. Thank you for this opportunity. Thank you for allowing this healing to take place and being so vulnerable with the beautiful people that you touch. You have such a magnificent gift, a light that is shining so bright. And we come here to help that light shine even brighter in everything that you think, say, and that you do. We love you so much. And it's time to let this feeling of unworthiness, this feeling that is not who you are, go. Are you ready to let it go? I want you to connect with that beautiful heart of yours, and we connect by just thinking of something or someone that you really, really love. When you feel that love hit your heart, just say connected.
Connected.
Beautiful. And I want you to call on your guides, your higher self, source, whatever you relate to. It doesn't matter your beliefs, ladies and gentlemen, who's listening to this. It's all about what you connect to, a belief in something greater than ourselves. That's all we need. And I want you to invite that beautiful energy into your heart and surround it around the emotion of unworthiness. And you can do this by just visualizing and breathing in beautiful golden light, swirl it around your heart and that unworthiness, and lift it up, 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 up. See the energy of the unworthiness leaving, and then we're going to blow it out with the breath. Are you ready? Asking for your guides to come into your heart. Take a deep breath, breathing in beautiful golden light. Swirl it around that feeling of unworthiness and see the color of the unworthiness and lift it up, 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 up into the mouth and use your voice. And when you're ready, breathe it out. Give it permission to go. Drop all the mind. Let go of all the ego that wants to hold on to it and just let it go. Breathing in, beautiful golden light. Swirl it around. Let it out. Use your voice. Another one. And I want you to use your voice on this one. You don't need to yell into the microphone, but you can yell off of it. Bring it down, all of the feelings down. There you go. I don't want you to hold back on this one, Blue. I want you to really let it go. Come on, girl, you got this. No holding back, let it go. All right, coming back in, connecting back in. I want you to just connect to the time when you were with X and he cheated on you and you felt unworthy. I want you to feel the unworthiness in your heart now. And on a scale of 0 to 10, where is it? 0 is you can't connect to it. 10 is it's the worst.
It's like a 5.
Okay, so what are you holding on to, Blue?
Because I don't feel like it started with this man, but it continued with another man.
Okay, so it's leading.
So there's like shrapnel off. There's like that. There's a root, and then there's like branches, and then there's more branches, and a little more branches.
Yep.
So as much as I'd love to say, like, just like going, brings it down, but it's like it's been evidence, yes, almost like over a long period of time.
So then what this shows us is that, so sometimes we're able to move a whole feeling of, say, unworthiness, but that might still be too general for you, right? So in the reframing process, if we go to a very specific moment, and it's normally the catalyst moment, or there's a few of them, the time when he did this in this time, right, with so-and-so, and I felt this emotion, and we work on that, you can begin to dismantle the web and the different fractals that are attached to the whole, if that makes sense. I don't know if you want to go into all that right now, but
no, I think that this is good for us to be able to break down and really give a taster and a test of, because I understand that this takes time and integration and contemplation and marination. And I think really it's if we really want to heal something, we have to have the courage to look into the root. I don't believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, that there's any other way to move through an emotion that is creating contraction, leading to division, based from a place of fear, based off of a past timeline, is now flipping onto a future timeline. The only way to transmute it is to go into it.
Yep, absolutely. 100%. And all the different variables that are around it. Like, it's a beautiful exploration. We started with, I don't know where it's coming from. It's just a knee-jerk reaction to, it might be connected to my first abandonment, which didn't necessarily feel like it at the time, but I'm recognizing there's something there, parents and boarding school. Now, actually, as I go down, it's saltier when I look at this one X in this individual. But now I'm going into that. I'm finding, oh, okay, it's not wanting to move right now. We only got a point, right, on the spectrum.
Yeah.
I'll take one. That's fine. It means we need to approach it from a different angle. Okay, there's somebody else over here that did this. And so when we map, we literally have a map where we write out this web of connection, so to speak, and all of the micro moments. So a root might be filled with one instance or a few core instances, right? Like, for example, individuals who have felt or experienced physical abuse from a parent, they have probably been abused multiple times. But there's probably a handful, if that they remember, or that are the key ones that are the roots. And maybe there's 3. And when you remove those 3, all the other 100 or 1,000 times that they were beat fall away, and they're able to heal and then forgive, right? So 100% to what you're saying. And so I would liken that map just to keep going deeper and find that web that surrounds that feeling, that illusion of unworthiness. And as you begin cutting all of those different connections, it will naturally just start to dissolve.
So when you say cutting, okay, so for example, today I was like, first and foremost, I think it's just important to acknowledge and pinpoint the emotion, because essentially in the Gene Keys, it talks about the shadow, the gift, and the city, which I talked about in the TEDx talk. And so the shadow of dishonor is feeling the trigger, feeling the jealousy, for example, and then going, how could you have done this? How could you have said this to her and done this and erased that and do that? This is like zero ownership, zero sort of self-awareness around the emotional issue that it's at hand. Then the first stage would be like, okay, I see it. I acknowledge it. This is summing up within me. Now, I don't want to bypass this emotional feeling because I'm shaming it, guilting it, pushing it back down, thinking it shouldn't have a say at all in any of this. But the shift from dishonor to graciousness is to feel the emotion, but transmute it and rewrite the narrative. That's how we make the quantum shift into the higher octave of frequency. And therefore, then it doesn't need to present itself as much because it's no longer a vibrational match to something that's sitting latent within.
Boom.
So, in a nutshell,
mic drop.
Can't drop this mic though. This one just sits there. Just like throw it. Something. So when the emotion is now being felt, and for example, okay, cool. What I've gotten from this conversation with Blue and Alexander is we've got to go in, we've got to face off. And you just said cut.
Yeah.
Now you pulled out the drum and you did one reference point of what it means to consciously move through an energy, which was essentially sound. I like to, Brianna taught me, a dear sister of mine, she said, it's like the 4 ways of transmuting anything: shamanically, breath, sound, movement, touch. If someone's sitting at home and they're going, okay, right, I'm detecting a core wound, I'm taking radical ownership of it, I'm detecting where it started, I'm feeling the texture, and I have now the strings. I'm holding it, and I'm like, there it is, and I got my scissors.
Yes.
But like, what is the actual piece that goes and it actually breaks?
Yes. Great question. Huge question. So there's a few different tools. Like, for example, we just met that feeling with a certain level of resistance, right? It only moved a fractal on the scale. So then what we can do is we can look at a different approach. And so when somebody, for example, with this kind of step 1 practice that I was showing you isn't quite moving, what we'll do then is we work on a more of a subconscious level, and we'll bring up the character and the moment, right? So we'll bring up the character, the villain in our narrative. And what we can do is you visualize the actual energetic cord that connects you to. And this is something that has also surprised me. Every single human being can see that has come through our work. Everybody has this gift. It's inner sight. And when you see the connection between the two, we have these cords that are attached to individuals in our lives. There's tons of them in us. And they're energetic cords, and some of them are healthy and some of them are not healthy. And an individual can actually go in and look and see the cord, and they can see the color of the cord, and they can feel the emotion around the cord. And so what we'll do then is we have them literally take out and visualize taking out scissors or a sword or fire or whatever tool they want of separation, and they cut that cord. And in the process of cord cutting, what happens is you free yourself energetically from that person. And it's also another way to go to a root where you can just cut the whole entire energetic experience out of your auric and energetic field. And what happens then is the body will realign. So an individual who has a lifelong trauma from, let's just say, their father abusing them, instead of going line by line, sometimes people will really struggle with like connecting to the heart because they haven't felt love. It's sad, but true. So we have to look from a different place. We'll take them to this place. They cut the connection with father. They speak words of forgiveness. So we're using our voice, right? They then are able to feel the pain move. When the pain starts moving, that means the heart is activating, right? When we're crying, the heart is activating. They can open up the heart and then they can forgive. And then when that takes place, it transmutes.
Do you feel like there is an integration period or a contemplation period from having the realization, cutting the cord, and then going, okay, I'm feeling a release, and then going into life and actually like applying this insight? Do you feel like there's time, there's like an integration time that needs to take place for this to actually lock from just like, not just like an intellect of like, oh yeah, I can understand how that would be linked to being like, this is the intelligence of who I am and how I weave and how I respond as first nature?
Yes. You're good at these questions. You got them down.
I'm just vibing. I'm just jamming. Yes. I'm just reflecting you.
The window is about 3 days where after a healing takes place, it's super important for the individual to integrate. And that means staying off of digital devices as much as possible, not checking in with social media, not checking in with friends and family to the best of the ability, not checking in with work to the best of the ability, not looking at any external experiences that are normally designed to take you out of your internal experience. And then through integration, the morning ritual meditations and your morning practice, what happens is when you have a big relief, like let's just say you heal a mother wound or a father wound or a boyfriend wound, something big, you've got to let the wound like do its coagulation, so to speak, right? And so those first 3 days, we're very vulnerable, we're very open, and you also start receiving more insight afterwards. It's like, I had that dream and that made sense about this, or I was in meditation and I got this message that means this, and it's really helping me. And it's not just about the healing. In fact, it's not about the healing. Like we look at, people I think healing means that the pain disappears and the disease goes away. But those are all just markers that were put there in place for what really is taking place, which is the wisdom and understanding as to why. And like without the why, the deep message and wisdom that comes from the process of healing, right? The process of transmuting and alchemizing pain into love or healing. That is the most important part. And that's when we have the aha moment. That's when we realize, oh my God, I had a soul contract with my father, and that abuse was necessary because I had to learn about how to find inner love within myself. And now I'm transmuting that into my purpose. That's why we say healing is the prerequisite to purpose. I'm going to help others who have been abused now. And this has always been my passion, right? So it all makes sense. I can look at him now because I've connected to his ancestral line. And I realized that he was abused by his grandfather and he didn't know love. And he passed that down to me. So now I have compassion. Oh my God, compassion for the person who hurt me. I never thought I'd feel that again. And the cycle just starts unraveling, and that's when the healing takes place. And so we don't do more than one session a week because it could be way too much. And we don't want people to be doing too many other things. Not that other things aren't necessary, but to focus on one thing while you're doing this, so that it has time to breathe.
Because this work, like I got to experience it firsthand, and it's been such a long time for me to actually be able to receive a session. I'm always giving sessions for people with gene keys and whatnot, and it takes a lot, I think, for me to really cry or have like a cathartic release or like a breakdown. leading to a breakthrough, of course. But within the 1 short hour, you and Shayun were managing to rinse the tears out of me, to feel the depth, to get the shaking, the yelling, all of the things. I mean, I was 100% all in. But there's a lot that moves within every session, and I can understand why this needs to be not just one session, but between 4 to 7 weeks of sessions, because I do think that gap between the sessions is as important as the
100%.
sessions themselves, because it's the way of integration into the 3D. And I think that from my personal experience, why I have so much respect for plant medicines and master plant teachers, and simultaneously acknowledging that if a wound has been detected, then actually what's necessary now is to integrate it in our everyday 3D life, not just to keep going back to the medicine, because the medicine is only going to show the potential on the other side potentially, and then the wound itself, but not actually going to do any of the rewiring and the shifting in the 3D. And
ding, ding, ding.
Yeah, it's easy to talk about this during this session, or even to sit with plant medicines, but is it easy in the moment when the trigger is present and every single cell in the being is yelling, you got to say this right now, otherwise you're going to be disrespected, or otherwise it's going to happen again, and it's choosing another alternative choice point in that moment of heat? I think that's a little sweet spot where the shift happens, and essentially with your guidance and with your shamanic tools and your insight, you're supporting people to be able to make those small decisions, which essentially lead to a very different direction in someone's consciousness.
Every time you speak, you send chills through my being, down my spine, because you're just speaking truth, Blue. You're just speaking truth, and integrate everything you're saying is yes. And so, one is, everybody is their own healer. That's number one. 2 is you cannot heal yourself if you're afraid to heal, meaning that you can be afraid to heal, but you can't heal if you are in fear in the moment of healing. You've got to be in heart. So you can transmute that fear with the frequency of your heart. When you receive the healing, that's the miracle, right? That's the gift. It's the gift that we're all owed by looking at the demon and moving through it, right? We transmute the illusion and we realize that it was the teacher. We have the breakthrough, and then the integration has to take place. And that's why you need support. And it's so important to have, it takes community to heal. This is why community is so important. I think you need somebody who is compassionate, who can help you, who you can lean on, but you do have to do the work yourself. So oftentimes an individual will experience, let's just say, I'll just keep using the parent figure because I think everybody's got those wounds, is that you can heal the trauma from your mother and from your father, for example, but oftentimes then you'll have to go and have a very hard conversation with them, and you won't be able to fully lock in that healing, meaning it can come back, or the karmic clearing hasn't taken place until you then give that individual the wisdom that they need, and you speak your truth. You don't suppress it anymore. And there's action that has to take place. There's things that you must do in your life. You get directives. There's amends that needs to be made. There's a lot of forgiveness that has to take place. And then there's coming back to your spiritual practice, that you don't stop the spiritual practice once you've healed. No. That's when it gets exciting. I'm more interested, actually, to be honest, what happens on the other side of healing. This is when it really gets interesting. What happens when you've fully healed? Meaning you fully healed. You are fully healed. That doesn't mean you stop evolving or that all of a sudden you're enlightened. But it does mean that you're well on the path to then living your fullest expression in this life. And that's what I think we're all here to do. And then it's about, what are we creating? And that's where it really gets exciting. And so when plant medicine or the guru or the modality or any of this becomes the external solution, we've lost. And you have people who spend their lives, I meet so many people or like on their 8,000th ayahuasca ceremony. And I'm like, but you still haven't dealt with your mother yet. Why? What's going on? Is it the plant? No. No, it's because the relationship with the plant or the teaching or the process is skewed, and there's not full accountability often taking place for the work that has to be done outside of the session, right?
Yeah, it's really important. And I think that there's not as much emphasis as there could be on the actual integration of the information. So essentially, people that are listening at home and just really tuning into this, they can feel into what is this one piece that is lying within them, and actually having the courage to go to the root of it and to excavate that root, to be able to actually receive the power back that is being it's almost like it's being held hostage, the power, like a little jewel of power. We only get given so many jewels in a lifetime. And we're like, one of those jewels is hiding here within this root. And actually the way to actually find the location of the jewel is through the trigger. And so to reframe the trigger as it's a map to the jewel, which gives you your power back, which then activates your service.
Ding, 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 ding. She's got it, ladies and gentlemen. That's it. That's it.
So with this realization, it's like, okay, now, for example, jealousy shows up, or like the fear of abandonment and rejection, and it presents itself. The first, and what I noticed actually about jealousy and how it's a sneaky little member, is that it comes into like the frame of the lens, and it goes, yeah, but because you did this, it's because you did that. But it's because, and it's like, and also what I've noticed being aware now of the emotional experience is that the jealousy, because it shifts the blame outside, it gives a reinforcement reason to retract the love, like withdraw the love. So it goes like this and then goes, and it's like
Gollum.
That kind of, Gollum. And I'm in it, and I'm like got this level of self-awareness, and I'm like, there's just like two versions of myself that are like playing a ping pong match inside of my head, which is like my higher self that's like, oh, holier than holy, and I see why this is all happening, and you must take radical ownership of your own personal experience for you to transcend and therefore activate your service. And the other part of me is like, fuck you. And then just like this. Like, yeah. And so I'm now like with my desire to reclaim the gem, I have sort of like popped up in the middle and be like, all right, ladies, let's just take a break, all right? Take a breath. Hold on. And all time is stopped, and Andre's standing there and he's frozen, and I'm in this like space where it's like, it doesn't have to be this way. You can pause this. And so this self-awareness and essentially what it's done is I spent the day today, my Jinku client ended up having to reschedule. So I was like, okay, I'm going to go to nature, and just like disconnected everything. And actually with the very intention of spending this time looking at it, not running away from it, not externally blaming it, but actually just sitting in it. And feeling the emotion, and not letting the division be in the driving seat anymore, but actually stopping the car, assessing who's in the car and who the fuck is driving this vehicle, so that we can actually start going in the direction of the place that holds our power. So essentially this circles all the way back around to, you have the ability to heal yourself and anything.
Absolutely. And I think the takeaway from that people can experience if they're trying to get to the root is a beautiful conversation with ourselves. And you can write out these answers in a stream of consciousness, or have a back and forth with yourself where it's like, if you feel the emotion, you just stop and you just ask yourself, close your eyes, look in. I like to identify it. Where is it in the body? Okay, I feel it in my chest. What color is it? Oh, it's like a red and this black. All right. And as you do this more enough, you learn the emotions attached to it. So if it feels like unworthiness, then maybe unworthiness means black and red to you. And then you ask, okay, well, what am I afraid of? And boom, what is the first answer that pops up? Okay, abandonment. Okay, why am I afraid of abandonment? Because this happened. Why am I afraid of that happening again? Because I'm afraid of being unloved. Why am I afraid of being, and you start going on this narrative with yourself that starts showing you, and you can ask yourself, We are the Akashic records. We are the quantum connection. We have the ability, and you don't need to go to a shaman or to myself or anybody else to access this. Part of it is just sit down and ask yourself, what is the root cause of this? Show it to me now. Boom, there it is. Okay, gotcha. Now, if you have a hard time accessing those files, that's when you have to start really like doing the morning rituals and start cleansing the body so that you can start receiving. But everybody has that gift. And that's the path. And when we talk about anybody can heal anything, it is about mapping the whole emotional spectrum, finding every single stone that has not been unturned in your whole life, which means every single main character in the play, in the movie of your life that has fucked you up, or even small traumas from being left out and not picked on the playground, to being bullied, to the teacher, making fun of you, like all these types of things, right? Or making you feel lesser. All these things are mini traumas. And soon enough, as we start removing all of those from the system, the body naturally recorrects. Like the analogy I like to use is if you were to cut your hand right now, you wouldn't go around shaking everybody's hand and driving and opening up doors and handles. You'd be bleeding all over the place and get infected. And you wouldn't allow that infection to just go on for months and days and years, because you'd have to get your hand amputated or your arm, or you get a blood infection in your heart and you'd be forced to heal the hand.
Take my strong hand.
You would wash that son of a bitch, and you would wrap it up and you'd bandage it, and you would allow for your body to heal. And so why is it that we've been cut so many times throughout our lives, but we haven't cleaned those wounds? So what's happening is we've all been cut, and we have deeply infected wounds that are festering. And if we leave them for too long, they turn into disease and disease, right? And turn into these emotional sufferings and things. And so we've got to go through and clean each wound and bandage it up, and then get out of the way, and the body will heal itself. And that's why I say we can heal itself from all things, because we're designed that way. We're designed to be healthy. We're designed to be well. We're designed to be balanced. We're designed to be harmonious. Thank God we've been designed so well to be that we can live 80 years with disease and suffering, and the body can even last that long, right? But that's not the way. And so I think when it comes to we can heal ourselves of all things, it's the shift from that perspective of that conscious shift. Oh my God, we've been lied to. We don't need the meds. We don't need all of the Western proclaimed things that we need. We have all the answers inside of ourselves. Our body is perfect. And if we clean it and get out of the way, it will do its job. And that's when the miracle happens.
So it's placing the power back in the hands of the people. This is an opportunity for us, every single person. Like I talked on the TEDx conversation, everybody has a limitation, a wound, a shadow, something that is tapping away at us. And you may not relate to the jealousy piece that I spoke into, or the unworthiness, or the fear of rejection. However, it may be something like anger, rage. It may be something like, not trusting ourselves, or whatever it is. Essentially, it's universal that the only way to transmute it is down in and then up. And having the tools and placing the tools in your hands, saying that I am the shaman of my own experience. I am the healer. And that also, we've got the internet disconnect for a second. We'll see if we come back. Take a sip of my salty hot chocolate in the meantime. There he is. We're back.
And you said, and having.
And so having the tool and the awareness that we can be the shaman and the healer of our own experience. And this is extremely important, because now this places the power back in the people. And so. This
is the message.
Yeah. And so I love, because at the beginning I asked you a question, you really feel like we have the ability to heal ourselves of anything. And you were like, yes, clear as day, done, boom. And so I pray that anybody that's tuning into this podcast starts to look at their challenge, their wound, as actually in a shifted perspective of the desire to want to go in the direction of to liberate the power back from this place of unconscious and unintegrated part of ourselves. If I'm feeling like, okay, I've done the practices, I'm still not like really fully being able to tap into this, I'm going to need some help. and I'm listening to this podcast and I'm very, very drawn towards you and the magic that you're talking about and the work that you do, how would my listeners be able to connect with you and find you, and what courses do you have going on for people to be able to plug into what you're creating?
Absolutely. Thank you for that. Well, Instagram's always a great place to find me. It's my last name, Mendeluk, Mendeluk. So just Instagram handle is at Mendeluk, and you can shoot me a DM. There you'll find links to everything. We have a free morning ritual program, which is always an amazing first step. That way you can start integrating the things that we're talking about and start getting results. And that link is also found on my Instagram. It's the free Light Force Center morning ritual program. And I would just opt in there. That'll put you on the mailing list. And then from there, you could always book a call with us. I love talking to people through DMs as well. So ask me your questions, shoot me your messages, tell me your stories and pains, and we can chat and I can kind of direct you where you need to go. We work primarily one-on-one with people, but we realize there's a bottleneck at that. And not all people are able to necessarily invest what it takes to work with us one-on-one. And so what we're doing is we're opening up a community, which we're really excited about. And we've been creating content, Shayun and I, that systemizes so much of what we do, because a lot of this you can do on your own with the right support. And so Shayun and I and the community, we're realizing you have all these beautiful people who are coming together, who are on the same journey, who have gone through similar experiences. That's the medicine too. And so we're going to be launching that, and that's going to be a monthly subscription and a free option as well. So if you join the email list, we'll let you know about that. And we're spending a lot of time on Clubhouse too. Every Sunday at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, we're doing a 3-hour live sessions where we're doing live healings with people and just bringing in conscious topics and whatnot. So if you guys are in the Clubhouse beta, come check us out for sure.
Amazing. Because this is so helpful, specifically for the Bluebirds, for anybody that's tuning in and listening to this, because it's one thing to say you can heal yourself from anything. And it's another thing to actually have a container to be able to receive people in that and be able to support people through no matter what it is that's present. And specifically with 2020, 2021, it's presenting all of the unintegrated parts of ourselves to come up and out so that we can truly face off with it and heal it. And so to be able to really support people and have places for people to go so that they can really start this process, or at least some information or other like-minded individuals that are also on this journey. So I would highly recommend, if you are feeling something that's going on within you, whether it's small or large, it doesn't matter. It's really just an acknowledgement that when we heal ourselves, we truly heal the world. And can we have the courage to look within ourselves and to actually source places where we can actually be held in this and allow ourselves to safely, with love and support, to transmute these denser things. So if you Alexander, had one thing, if I was to give you a microphone and stand you up on a stage that is reaching 65 million people. There's not 65 billion people on the planet. I was like, this is you're broadcasting not just to this planet, but all planets in the cosmos. What message would you share? Putting you on the spot here.
Yes. Yes. I would share that we are all limitless beings who have the ability to heal ourselves of all things. That what you said, which resonates so strongly, is that if we want to create conscious solutions, if we want to heal the world, we have to heal ourselves. So the world needs conscious solutions more now than ever. We cannot create conscious solutions from an unconscious state. So the prerequisite for us saving the planet, creating new healthy forms of governance, saving the rainforest, the oceans, ourselves, humanity, the only way we're going to change that is by raising our own consciousness. And the prerequisite to doing that is healing ourselves. There is no way around it. The only way forward is within. Everything else will come after that. Everything else will come. And that's when people are talking about manifesting this and creating that. Get out of that. Get into you. And what happens is you become then a magnet of attracting everything that's in the frequency of your purpose and truth. And that's where the real magic lies. And that's when you're going to be of service. That's when you're going to be able to get out there and really do your work here in this life. So when people are saying, oh, I'm just one person, what can I do? Heal yourself. Because when you're healing yourself, not only do you heal yourself in the now, you're helping break your ancestral karma. So you're healing your past and all those lineages who didn't finish their work, who are rooting for you and supporting you. And then what's really interesting is you're healing the future. All the children you're going to have and their children and all of the, think about the millions of people that we affect now, one individual or hundreds of thousands just through social media. You are then, by healing yourself, helping affect millions of people consciously in the future to come that you will never even know. It's the single most powerful thing to do. So let's do it. Let's go.
All righty. Well, I want to get a microphone that actually allows you to speak to 7.8 billion people so that we can get this message out there, because fuck yeah. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing your microphone with me. That's really an honor. I really appreciate you, Blue. You're a beautiful human being, a beautiful spirit, and you shine so much light, and I'm very grateful.
Oh, well, my intention when I first started Deja Blu was the most fantastic, incredible, activating, illuminating souls that I come in contact with and blessed to be able to share time and space with will be highlighted through my platform, whatever it is that I build. So I'm so grateful for you coming and circling back into my reality in such a powerful way. And I'm so grateful that you have set yourself up to be in devotion to your life's work and supporting people to be in the transmutation of all that is no longer serving them. It is such important work right now. So brother, thank you for your time and your presence, the greatest gift you could ever give anybody. And Bluebirds listening at home, definitely check out Alexander and his incredible wife Shayun, who we're going to have on the podcast shortly. And yeah, she's special as well in her own individual way, and these two are doing really remarkable work out in Bali but also remotely, so definitely check it out. The information of everything that he shared will be in the show notes. And so to all of you beautiful Bluebirds listening at home, I'm so grateful for you tuning again for another podcast. If you're watching this, hi. And if you're listening to this, sending you love into your moment, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, may you feel heard, seen, supported, and loved, and feel like you have the empowerment in your heart to shift anything and everything so that you can heal yourself of anything. Thank you for tuning in. And until next time, Blue out.